And good evening. I know we're on later than we usually are, but we have a very important guest today, Garland. He's from Fund the CEO, but he's also a NYPD detective, and we're going to talk about a random amount of things. And I want to bring him on double screen right away because I want to get straight to it. Robert, how are you? And tell everybody who you are and more about you. I mean, I kind of gave everything away at the beginning, but you go ahead.
No, Stanley, it's a pleasure to be on your show. And I know we connected on Clubhouse, which is great. And I know we have a nice synergy together. So I'm actually on the East Coast. I'm in New York. I'm an NYPD detective. And more importantly, I'm the CEO of fundthefirst.com. And fundthefirst.com is a verified crowdfunding platform for our nation's heroes. So first responders, military, medical professionals. But now the question goes back to, what is it exactly? What is crowdfunding? So Stanley, I'll actually ask you, if I were to ask you what crowdfunding is, what would you respond with?
Well, for me, crowdfunding is like, let's say you want to get your car fixed, right? And you call up 200 of your friends and say, hey, can you all give me $1 so I can fix my car because it costs 200 bucks. And then all your friends give you 200 bucks to fix your car. And then you take it and get your car fixed. That is the epitome of crowdfunding.
No, and that's absolutely perfect. That's a great answer. But now let's take it a step further. With crowdfunding, there also comes fundraising, and that's for a lot of different reasons, right? There's illness, surgeries, deaths, catastrophic losses. There's equipment for departments. There's good causes. There's millions of different fundraisers that people do. But now, what's the go-to name when people say, I'm going to do a fundraiser for XYZ? What's the first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, of course. GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. It's the first thing that pops along in anybody's head. And unfortunately for our nation's heroes, there's not a real safe or trusted way for them to raise money, for their families to raise money, for their friends. And that's where Fund the First comes into play.
Okay.
Now, what we've developed is a verified source to be able to raise money without having to worry about fraud or scams or duplicate campaigns. And unfortunately, that runs rampant in all these other crowdfunding platforms, especially in the donation-based industry. There's two different types of industries. There's donation-based and there's equity-based. Now, there's platforms like something like Republic, if you've ever heard of Republic. Now, what happens on Republic? Yeah. So Kickstarter is more of a donation-based incentive platform. Republic is an equity-based platform. So what you're selling off basically securities in a company, privately held company. So it's pretty cool. But what we do is donation based. So we allow for first responders, military, medical professionals, their families, their friends, businesses alike, nonprofits alike, to come on, start a campaign, verify through our partner, which is ID.me. And it's absolutely great. If you're familiar with ID.me, we're a verified
Yes, I know about
it's a verification. Yes, I know you know very well. They're big in California over there. They've done a lot of things with DMV, but in all the states, they're growing a lot. They just closed $100 million Series C. Incredible.
Nice.
Yeah, on a $1.2 billion valuation. That's outrageous.
We'll come back to Fund the First a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some questions because, you being a detective and all.
Yeah,
dude,
absolutely.
they just legalized recreational marijuana in NYC. That's got to be, okay, let's go back. For me, let's go backwards. So there used to be a time when if you were caught with a nickel bag of marijuana, you got hooked up for it. And, now all of a sudden there's billboards saying, hey, we'll deliver the weed to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The world has changed.
It's changing a lot. It's definitely changing a lot. They used to say marijuana was the gateway drug, right? Use marijuana, you get to cocaine, you get to heroin, you get to all these other different types of drugs, right? And I actually spent a lot of my career in narcotics. So about 6 years, a little over 6 years, I spent in narcotics in the NYPD. And listen, we had from the beginning when I got there were a lot of weed arrests, a lot of marijuana offenses, and a lot of people that had the marijuana. But what goes along with marijuana? Guns, a lot of money, and then there's other people that come along with it. And that gets us to the other heavier drugs, cocaine, heroin, crystal meth, all that kind of stuff. So by legalizing this, I don't know where I stand on it, to be honest. I think I have to see how this plays out, because if you see how it's going in other states, it's give or take, right?
The thing I come across mostly is, okay, when they legalize marijuana in certain cities, there's certain guidelines you have to go by.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to move it from point A to point B, it has to be in your trunk or in a secure container. You can't drink it while you're driving down. You can't smoke it while you're operating a motor vehicle. You can't smoke it on the street. But now I went to Las Vegas, and dude, it was a contact high just walking down the street. I was in San Francisco, same thing, contact high walking down the street. So I guess my question is, and I guess it's not really a question, it's more like you have to wonder, And in Oregon, for example, they've now legalized or decriminalized shrooms because microdosing, they say, helps people suffering from I never say it right.
PTSD.
Thank you. I always say it wrong. There's some words I always get wrong, and that's one of them. And no disrespect to people who are suffering from it, but you wonder, are we on a slippery slope, or is that something that is a good idea? I mean, you don't have to give your straight up opinion, because obviously that would be you being who you are. But I mean, it's interesting what we're seeing now.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, what could come next, right? They're obviously going to see a revenue boom from the marijuana. Marijuana being legal, there's going to be jobs being created, but at the same time, I think people are going to be a little less, not as fearful as what they're doing, right? And there are going to be people, unfortunately, driving and smoking a lot. It's going to happen, and that was always an offense, But the same thing, it's got to be enforced. The enforcement has to be there just to ensure everyone's safety. Because you're driving high, it's not good. It's just as bad as driving drunk.
Well, can't you find the high drivers, because they're the ones going really slow in the freeway?
Or they're the ones stopped at the red light. They're out
forever.
Yeah,
dude, why you stop at this stop sign? I'm waiting for it to turn green. I'm like, stop sign.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, let's just go ahead. I'm sorry.
Here's a good example. So when they legalized in San Francisco, matter of fact, it's coming up now, 420. And they had a big event over at Hippie Hill. I used to do segments on it when I did a show in the Bay Area. And when they legalized marijuana, which was the whole event of Hippie Hill and 420 at Golden Gate Park, was to work on legalizing marijuana so that way people can smoke it. And then it became legalized, and they still had a 420. Now it was to celebrate it being legalized. And so they were sitting around the chiefs, not chiefs, but captains, smoking big old blunts out in the middle of the street in the parks to prove that they could get high in public, and not realizing that they are still breaking the law because it says you have to do it inside your house.
Right. Listen, it's just, again, it just comes down to the enforcement, and then what's going to happen with a lot of these offenses? They're going to be arrested and then out that same night, or issued a summons, and no one cares. They don't care.
And that goes back to that moves us to the next subject, that we seem to be decriminalizing a lot of things. And I'm not really talking more about the drug part of it. I think I'm talking more about how there's a prop in California, SB 81 and SB 82. And SB 82 is decriminalizing basically robberies. And there's robbery, there's larceny, and there's burglary. Robbery is when taking something by force. The keyword there is force. Larceny is like, stealing something off someone's porch. They call them porch pirates. We give them these cute names, and then people steal them. We put them on YouTube. Go, look, another porch pirate. And people think, oh, it's such glamorous that I'm a porch pirate. I'm not a thief, but I'm a porch pirate. And then you have, of course, burglaries, where they break in your house and they steal everything out your house. But that goes back to the whole thing about, if we're decriminalizing a violent act, which is robbery, which is anything taken by force. And by force could mean, give me all your money or I'm going to punch you in the face. Right. That is by force. Now, if the person isn't injured in this robbery, then under one of I think 82, then it's considered a misdemeanor, and you get a slap on the wrist and say, hey, don't do it again.
I mean, that's why we see what's going on today. I mean, how many videos do you see every day that's coming out of someone being attacked, someone being shot, someone being stabbed, someone being sexually harassed, raped in the middle of the street? I mean, these things are happening left and right in every single state across the country. And it's unfortunate. And it's because things aren't being enforced the same way they used to be enforced, and they're letting up on a lot of these rules, and they want to take people out of jail. And they, a common misconception is, like with the legalizing of marijuana, what they say, it's going to allow to release all of these prisoners that are in jail for these minor offenses. They're not in jail for these minor offenses. They're in jail for major offenses. That's why they're in jail. The people that are out on the streets, they receive the summons for the marijuana. And I know this firsthand. I was in narcotics, so I know it firsthand. But we got to be really, really, really careful what we're doing right now, and really be sure that we're not legalizing everything. If we start legalizing everything, we start dropping rules, especially robbery. I mean, listen, you come up to somebody, rip their chain off, that's robbery. Done.
That's robbery.
It's done. Why is that going to be a minor offense? Use force to steal someone's property.
So let's go backwards one more time. So they had a prop in San Francisco in California called Prop 47. Prop 47 decriminalized petty theft. So in other words, if you stole something under $950, before it was $450, they raised it. I think it's $950 now. It's not a penalty. It's considered a misdemeanor. Again, slap on the wrist. So what happens is now is that you have guys going into like pharmacies and Walgreens and CVS's and with a calculator.
Yep.
And they're literally counting how much money they're getting from stuff that they take out, so that they can basically say that we're under the limit, so it's a misdemeanor.
Yeah, it's a petty larceny as opposed to a grand larceny.
Right. So it's larceny instead of grand larceny, because now but then remember, it's just a misdemeanor. So it's no longer a felony for any kind of way, shape, or form. And it's gotten to the point now where some stores are closing down because they just can't afford and not just one time a day. It's every 10 minutes someone comes in and loads up a bag full of stuff and keeps on moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to the system, right? We see so many recidivists, the same people committing the same crimes over and over and over again. I mean, I've seen people that I've locked up and put away that have had rap sheets with over 100 arrests. And some of them are, there was a murder in the 80s that they were charged for, and they only spent 3 years in jail or whatever it was. Or they did, 50 petty larcenies. Why do they keep getting let off the hook? It's really unfortunate. And it's just like, if you don't set a standard, and this is obviously with anything in life, if there's no standard set, everyone's going to get away with everything. And they're just going to do whatever they want.
Well, that old saying, if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you don't stand for certain things being enforced. Now, and that moves me into a different direction, which is, people will complain that, they're just stealing because they have to feed their family. But I mean, if you're stealing just under the limit of what you need to survive, of what the law is, that sounds more like a concerted effort and not, I'm trying to feed my family.
Right. I remember we were discussing that on Clubhouse, and yes, there are people out there stealing to feed their families. Absolutely. But there's people out there that are stealing because they think it's exciting. They want to do it just to do it. There's people out there stealing because I remember someone mentioning, and they're right about this, they want to steal a bunch of things that they could sell to buy something else, or they want to steal because they want that new pair of sneakers that they can't afford. They just want to go in there. Or they're part of a crew, and these little gangs and these sets, they have to do it, as initiation. There's so many different reasons why there is stealing and larceny. And the same thing goes for robberies. I mean, a lot of these robberies, and assaults, they're part of gang crews, and it's really unfortunate what goes on.
And they're using now, and more or less, they're using juveniles now to commit the crimes, because juveniles don't go to jail. They just, they literally get a slap on the wrist. Case in point, Washington, D.C. has been having a big issue with people doing carjackings. And the carjackers are 15, 13, 14, 15 years old. And in one case, an Uber Eats driver was killed because they carjacked his car. He tried to get his car back. They crashed. He was ejected from the car, even though they hit the door. I mean,
that was the other day, right? The other day this happened, right?
Yes, that was just the other day.
Yeah, that was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's just, I don't understand that. There's no, and it goes back to, again, today's day and age. No one wants to yell at anyone.
No one wants to yell at. So, are we heading down a slippery slope? Are we heading to a situation?
I thought you meant, yeah.
Huh?
No, I thought you meant the way the questions are going. Are we going down a slippery slope?
No, I mean in general. Are we heading down a slippery slope with decriminalizing everything?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think anybody could say that, right? I mean, that's just my opinion, and that's my professional opinion as both a detective, as a father of 3 children, as a CEO of a company. It's going down definitely a slippery slope. And if we don't start enforcing some of these changes that maybe used to be there years ago, there's going to be some issues, especially who knows what could happen 10, 15, 20, 50 years from now.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to have some more discussion about some of the things that, as I told people, it's a random discussion. We're just talking about random things. I'll let you bring up the next subject, and then I'll go from that. How about that work for you?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So we'll take a minute break. We'll be right back.
All right.
If you're just joining me, I have Robert Garland, CEO of fundthefirst.com, and we've been discussing a bunch of stuff. But I mean, we want you to stick around because we have some other things to talk about. And if you missed it, we've already talked about decriminalization of a lot of things going on and whether or not we're heading down a different direction. He's an NYPD detective, and he's also the CEO of Fund the First. And we'll bring him back on here. Hello, sir.
Hello, Stanley. Pleasure. So let's hear about some aliens. I know you brought me on the show about aliens, right?
Yeah, we definitely have aliens in the back closet back there. And just so people know, this is not a you know what's so funny? People always come and go, I came here to look for aliens and I don't see any aliens. Maybe you are looking at aliens, you just don't know it. You know, aliens in all forms. But it's more about the shenanigans of the world we live in and how crazy things have gotten to the point where I've always had the same belief that there's a huge billboard somewhere out in space that says, avoid that big blue ball because they don't know what the heck's going on right now. And then when you turn on the news, you go, maybe there's some truth to that because you see them fly by, but you never see them hanging. Like they never land. They're like, nope. You know how you drive by a certain neighborhood, you know, drive by it, you know how, you know what I'm talking about. Yep. The ones with the big sign that says neighborhood watch, and then it turns out that, you know, there's nobody watching because every time there's a crime, no one's seen anything.
Yeah. Well, listen, how do we know that the aliens aren't here controlling all of this?
You know what? We could be just kidding. No, you know what? This could be the Matrix, bro. You never know. You know? I mean, they could be ready to decompress. But I look at it this way. I mean, if aliens were really here, they would have wiped us out a long time ago. Like, nope.
Oh yeah, bye. See you later.
Yeah, they go start all over again. Bring back the dinosaurs. we need some fresh oil. Somebody wrote that if Bernie Mac raised us, we'd all be in a better society. You remember Bernie Mac?
Of course, yeah.
All right. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Would you have any thoughts have you heard of the prosecutor in San Francisco? I never say his name right, but it's Chessie. I think it's a soup. The soup. Chesa Boudin.
No, I'm not familiar.
He's been basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was elected because they have something called a ranked choice election. So basically they put a bunch of people in the pot and then they all vote and they go, oh, you didn't make it. So the next person then they get down to one person. And some people as a joke said, I'm going to vote for Chesa because I don't think he'll ever make it. And then of course he made it. And now his whole agenda appears to be, if you listen to him though, his version is that he's trying to help San Francisco become better. But the general public says he's not prosecuting any crimes. He'll go after the cops in a heartbeat, but he won't prosecute too many people that commit real serious crimes. And I think one case he said that the guy was not having a bad day. That was in Georgia. What was the other thing he said?
He said he was having a temper tantrum.
Oh, yeah. So a guy said it was an Asian attack. He attacked an Asian person. He said he was having a temper tantrum. And that's why he did what he did.
That man died. And
the man died, by the way. So that temper tantrum killed someone.
Wow. And no prosecution.
Was there prosecution at all?
I don't know.
We're still trying to figure that one out. It looks like it's still pending right now. But, I mean, they basically said, hey, he was, come on, a temper tantrum and someone dying is two different things.
Oh, yeah.
You can't equate the two together.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like hit me with a frying pan and tell me I was just cooking fish. It doesn't work that way.
No. Oh my goodness.
And SFPD is having a rough time with staffing because nobody. I mean, but before I left the Bay Area 2 years ago, and it was a typical situation where you catch a guy with a bunch of rocks of cocaine in his mouth, selling it on the street, and they would spit the rocks out of his mouth, send him to court. And they were like, nope, we don't know those were his rocks. Dude, they were in his freaking mouth.
I've had cases like that before. Don't worry. We've had cases like that. There was like,
how do you, was that someone? That's like, remember the guy, there was a guy named Stanley Roberts, I think. Not me. But he was in Florida and he got stopped by, and I know it because people said, Stanley Roberts, he got stopped by a trooper and they found marijuana on him, but they also found cocaine shoved up his rectum.
Mm-hmm.
And so they asked him about the cocaine. He was like, that's not my weed. I mean, it's not my drugs. I don't know how the cocaine got in my butt.
Listen, we've had every single arrest that we made in narcotics, and there were thousands of them, thousands. Every single one was a strip search. Just had to be because everyone had drugs in them. And I want to say out of those 1,000, there were quite a few hundred that plop right in my hand. And let me tell you, it's going to sound gross. It was a different time, and I didn't wear gloves. Just put my hand out.
That's gross.
And it is gross. And we all did it. It's just like it was just a spur of the moment thing. Drop, cough, comes out. And there were plenty of those, and it was gross. And actually, speaking of gross, one of the grossest things I've ever seen. I was casing a guy. We were buying heroin from him for a long time, probably about 7 or 8 months. And when we arrested him, he smelled. There was just a horrible smell coming off him. And I'm not going to say his name or anything, but I said to him, and when I said his name to him when I first put him in cuffs, he goes, "How do you know my name?" I go, "Don't worry how I know your name." So he smelled, and I said, "Listen, did you just want to go to the bathroom in your pants? Be honest. It's okay. We'll take you back. We'll shower you off." He goes, "No." I go, "Well, listen, there's a serious odor coming off of you. We just want to know what it is." He goes, "It's nothing." I go, "Okay, no problem." When we go back to the station house and we start taking off his clothes and doing everything, I'm in the back doing paperwork and start processing everything. One of my partners goes, "Hey, Bobby," I go by the name Bobby also. He goes, "Hey, Bobby, you got to come in here right now." And I go, "Okay." This guy's shirt is off. He was using, have you ever heard of a synthetic drug called crocodile?
Never heard of it.
Okay, good. Don't look it up. Do not, if anybody's listening to this, don't look up crocodile.
See, now you got me wanting to look up crocodile.
So his arms, so from his hands up to his shoulder on both sides and across his chest, was eaten away. The flesh was just completely eaten away. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It smelled horrible. Absolutely horrible. But we obviously had to bring him right to the hospital, and that's where he stayed put until he was sentenced. And he was in the hospital for probably about 4 weeks.
All right. So what is crocodile, bro?
It's a synthetic drug. I think it's overseas, maybe Russia, Germany. I don't know, one of those places. But somehow it gets over here every once in a while. People buy it. What's that?
Is it like bath salt?
No. I believe he was injecting it. It's just like a very potent, disgusing drug. And it basically eats you away. Eats away your flesh, eats away everything. And he was using this.
What did you get from crocodile?
It's the same thing. Like, what kind of high? Why would you take fentanyl? Why would you do crack cocaine? It's like anything. Why did people do these drugs?
They would take like gasoline and
yeah. Oh my God.
Why is there such a? I mean, is the world that bad that we have to resort to drugs to get to survive in this world? Or and oh wait, here's something I got for you. So you remember the whole opiate thing and how they were just prescribing too many opioid prescriptions, and we're like, oh my God, And so if someone is seriously in need of pain, you can't get anymore because they pretty much made painkillers. They criminalized painkillers, but decriminalized robbery. So
yeah, and marijuana.
That there was something called RAs, registered, or I think it was not RAs. They were called. They were not registered nurses. They were like PAs. So a PA can write prescriptions after 2 years of going to school. Mm-hmm. And a doctor has to go for 4, 6, or 12 years. So the PAs were writing prescriptions. I could walk into an office and go, "Yeah, I'm in pain. I think I need Vicodin. I think I need Percocet, and I think I need Adderall." And they're just like, "Okay, Percocet." And so they were just writing them nilly-willy. And this is what never got out, was that they were just writing prescriptions to anybody, anywhere, anytime. And so it got to the point where it was just an overdose of, and no one mentioned that anywhere in the news, that was what was going on at one point.
That was up here in New York. That was one of the guys in my office had a big case with that with a doctor in Lower Manhattan. And what we were doing, obviously there's undercovers and everything. We were buying drugs from the doctor. And every single time we went in, he was doing a side prescription and handing drugs. Handing all the pills, handing pills over and over again. So his practice obviously got shut down. But that was in the news. That was maybe 3 years ago. 3 years ago. He had a gigantic house in Jericho on Long Island.
Yeah, they're making big money
gigantic off of that. Oh my God. But when we executed a search warrant out there. But yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. And it's still happening. They do that under the table. That's happening in a lot of places.
It's still happening now, or is that something we've kind of squashed because of the no prescription thing, and now that it's a class 3, I think.
It depends. A lot of these. So what's happening is a lot of these private doctors and a lot of these private offices are being bought out by like the giant practices, right? Like Northwell and all these places. So once they're bought out, it's a little harder for them to do it. But when they're private still, I'm sure they're still doing it.
Because I remember once I had a kidney stone and I was in so much pain. Oh yeah, you know how those things are. I was in so much pain. I was like, I need something for the pain. They go, we would, except, we can't write prescriptions for painkillers anymore. So you know what? You have to suffer and be in pain until we can figure out another way to get you out of pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's really unfortunate that they do that. I just had surgery on my shoulder and they gave me oxycodone.
Oh right? Man, do you got any more? I'm just kidding.
They gave me oxy.
Officer, I was just kidding.
I took them for a couple of days right after surgery, and I couldn't take them anymore. They were making me sick. They gave me a shot of morphine. Mm-hmm.
And I must have been like, what do you call those, an addict? Because as soon as I wore off, I just started hurling everywhere. It was like a movie out of a hurl scene. Like, the morphine? And apparently that's not considered an allergic reaction. That's just, you just throw up. That's
it's horrible.
So I try not to be in pain anymore because I can't get any help for it.
Come to New York. Go walk the streets. You'll find some help.
Oh, trust me. I'm from Philadelphia, and I've been there a few times, bro. And New York ain't no joke.
Yeah.
If you want it, they got it.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You can walk down.
In the next 18 months, when they finally get it was approved today, so 18 months from now is when it actually goes on sale. Imagine what it's going to be like when you try to do narcotics, and your first instinct as a narcotic detective is you smell weed, and you go, "Who's smoking? Who's doing drugs?"
Yeah, that was
Oh yeah, it's just weed.
Yeah, now it's that was basically the stop, and that was an arrestable offense, and then it always led to something else. It led to a lot of intelligence as well. But unfortunately now it's not going to. There's no reason to talk to these people anymore.
Remember the broken windows theory that if you don't fix something small, it becomes something big?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So that has been an issue for years where we don't fix the small things, and then we realize that the big things, you go backwards. As you what's the word I'm looking for? As you deconstruct it, you start to find out that the source came from something that was, in most people's minds, minuscule. He's just being himself. I wouldn't worry about it. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, he killed like 800 people. Well, he was a nice kid as far as I remember him.
It's always the story, right?
It's always the story.
It's always the story. It's so sad.
And that's why aliens never invade Earth, bro. Because it's always the story. It never changes. No matter how you write the book, the very end has the same ending.
It's always the narrative. That narrative will always be the same. And then the narrative with the cop that's doing their job. Nope, he's a bad.
So now here's the question, and you can answer this, and you may not be able to answer this, but there's a big talk about that people are being targeted because of the color of their skin. Do you wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I think I'm going to arrest me a black guy today?
So obviously that's a politically constructed question, and it's hard for me to answer. But I'll be very blunt about it. My time on the job was never about racially motivated arrests or anything like that. It was who is committing the crime. And a lot of these crimes were committed right in front of me. A lot of these people selling drugs, it's whoever you walk up into the streets on, and whoever's doing this, the intelligence that comes along. Listen, there were plenty of all different races that we arrested. It has nothing to do with the color of the skin. Nothing. It's about who's committing the crime, and that's who's going to be going to jail.
And you know what? And I tell people, because I do a lot of ride-alongs with law enforcement, and not once have I ever had a cop go, to me, today's a special day. We have a list of people we want to target today.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are the ones we're going to go after. And people say, well, they won't do it because, obviously you're black. So I'm like, wait, I'm black? I had no idea. You just threw something into me, a monkey wrench.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what I was until you told me.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that, and it bugs me because people come after me because I do a lot of stuff with law enforcement, and every time a cop does something wrong, they target me and say, people come to me on Twitter and go, "Look what that cop did," and you still support cops? I'm like, bro, that's like me saying having a rotten apple in a basket, and then me saying, hey, that if that apple's rotten, then all the rest of those apples are rotten.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And listen, there's always going to be bad eggs no matter what. And that's everywhere. There's going to be bad cops. There's going to be bad businessmen, businesswomen. There's going to be bad eggs everywhere, but it's just what led that person to the decision that they made,
Yep.
and
So,
that's just, everyone has a different answer, like I said, to me, it's been who's committing the crime, and that's it. I mean, I worked in narcotics, right? And my team that I worked on, I mean, we're all mixed races. We're all mixed races. I mean, I come from a Puerto Rican background. Most people don't even realize that. My team was all black and Hispanic, everybody. And we just went out there and we did our job every single day.
And that's how you're supposed to do it. And so we're going to take another break, and then we come back. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about
aliens
first, because that's where your passion is.
Yes, I'd love to talk about that. Yeah,
and it's only it's for first responders. It's not just for Frank on the corner who had every day of his life to get insurance and then decided that today was the day he was going to ask for money. This is who put their lives on the line, or they help people that are, paramedics, firefighters, all those different groups. This is for them. So we'll come back and we'll tell them how they can get involved, what they can do, and the process, so that no one just joins nilly-willy. So we'll be back in about a minute, and we'll chat more about it. Fair enough?
Sounds great.
All right. And we're back. And if you're just joining us, I have NYPD Detective Robert Garland, also the CEO of Fund the First. And let's talk about that some more, because Fund the First it's like a GoFundMe, except.
So you actually, before we went on that little break, you said it's not for Frank on the corner, right? It's not for someone that's not a first responder, military, or medical professional. However, there's nothing that says that a first responder, military, or medical professional can't start a campaign for that person, which is really unique about our platform, and it's great. So what we do is, and like I said earlier, for anyone that's joining in now, we have a verification partner through ID.me, and we verify the beneficiary of every campaign. So when someone donates to a campaign, they understand that money is going to a verified, true, and honest source. And that's really important, especially in today's day and age with all the scams, the fraud, and the duplicate campaigns out there on these other platforms. So what we've done, we launched this past July after a couple of years of development. And this past July, we now have 160 fundraising campaigns on the platform. And last week, actually, we surpassed $1 million raised through those 160. And it's great. So the average campaign on our platform raises just over $10,000. However, we've had campaigns raise over $100,000. We've had plenty of campaigns raise zero. It's all in the matter of how you share it. So when you have a fundraising campaign, you have to ask your networks for help. You have to say, listen, I'm looking for a donation because of a house fire, a flood, an illness, a surgery, a death, a catastrophic loss. You're looking to raise money for a department. Listen, a department could come on here, and we have a couple, and we've had canines, departments for canines come on to raise money for a new canine. We've had departments come on to raise money for new fire equipment, for new fire departments. It's been incredible. They could do that. And people could come on and do good causes. There's actually the FDNY. They just did a campaign on the platform, and tomorrow they're holding an event at the Ronald McDonald House, and they're giving back to sick children for a fundraiser that they just did on our platform. So it's really great. There's so many different reasons, and the same as these other platforms, everyone's raising money for different reasons. But now where we come in and Fund the First, so this is actually our logo right here. It's 2 Fs. I don't know if you see it.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like,
It looks like a shield, but it's 2 Fs.
Yep. That's the whole point. It looks like a shield. This is actually I coach
Design.
That's a great question. That's what I was going to say. This is Lisa Graham. Lisa is one of my friends, and I coach her son with my son in baseball. So she was awesome. It took her a while, but we have a company. But this is before we were even anything. I said, listen, this is what we're putting together. You want to put together a logo for me? And she gave us like 100 logos, and I was like, that one. So yeah, it's she did a great job with it. But it's really important in the space in the crowdfunding industry, especially the donation-based industry, to be able to give back to our nation's heroes and provide them with a supported and trusted service. And that's what we need right now, and I hate to see it. And unfortunately, a lot of things happen out of a hardship. And what happened, and I'll give three examples right now, but
Okay.
one of my immediate supervisors and the reason and closest friends, Jason Stocker, and this is the reason why I started Fund the First. 3 years ago, his daughter was diagnosed with a rare illness, and she was also born 2 days apart from my middle child. And when we were going through milestones, his daughter wasn't hitting any milestones. So that was a sad thing to see. And I mentioned to him, I said, let's get you on a fundraising platform and let's raise some money. And he did not want to do it because he was afraid of scams. He was afraid of fraud. He was afraid of someone taking his daughter's identity and using it as their own to raise money.
It happens a lot. It happens.
So yeah. So what I did was I said, Jason, I'm going to put pen to paper and I'm going to develop something for you and for everyone alike to be able to utilize in an instance like this. And that's where Fund the First was developed. And there's been other cases. There's been, how many times do you see a cop in the news get shot?
Yeah,
and it's horrible.
Sad.
It's horrible. But you know what people do off of that? They try to benefit off that hardship. And the second that happens, you're going to see within 30 minutes a campaign go up on GoFundMe or one of these other platforms. And then you're going to see another one and another one. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, well, which one's the real one? Yes. And then it takes a little while where the family will then step in, or the department steps in and verifies which is the real one. That's not happening on our platform. It's done 1, 2, 3. It's the only campaign that's going up because it's verified to that family or that person or that department. So, and then there's a lot of these competition type things too. There's people where, and I've seen it time and time again, people that come on and they say, I'm trying to raise money for XYZ. And then another person says, well, I'm going to do it too because I want to beat your campaign out. That's not what it's about. It's not about competition to raise money. It's really not that. Anyway, ID.me, in regards to one of these questions that came in, ID.me is an excellent service. They take time. They're doing their best to do what they need to do. Their service is absolutely incredible. So they have an absolutely incredible verification model, and what they're doing to really help the internet as a whole and everyone as a whole cross country is going to be amazing. What Blake Hall is building, Blake Hall is retired military. What he's building with ID.me is one of the most fantastic programs I've ever seen.
I will say this, because at first I tried to use ID.me for and my unemployment, because they want to verify you're not cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through the whole process and it kept rejecting. It said that I had to take a picture of myself. And for some reason, it kept saying that there was too much noise in the background, even though I'm in a closet with the door shut and the light on. And so it got to the point where it just got annoying. So I just got off of it. But then I had to do it. So I tried a different version of ID.me, and it worked. It went through just like that, and it was verified, driver's license, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
It does have some bugs.
Oh yeah, that's like any software. There's always going to be bugs. There's always going to be.
If you're patient, and it came through for me. So like the person wrote, if they find another way and they'll donate. But at this point, it's not the issue is not you donating. The issue is the person who logs in to become to create the profile. Right. So you don't have to ID yourself to make a donation. The donation, the ID process, if I'm wrong, you correct me, is so that if you create this ID, it verifies it. It's like a check mark on Twitter. It's saying that you are the person who, and just like with Twitter, I had someone build an account. They mirrored my account and asked people for money, and people were giving this guy money as me. But the funny part is, when I asked for people to help me, they're like, "Oh yeah, well we just gave you money." I'm like, "No, you didn't." Yeah, now who's that guy? That's not me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So even the check mark, though, people don't even look for the check mark. They see a name and they go, "I'm going to donate because it's such and such a person."
Yeah.
So
that's what the platform does. So if anybody goes to fundthefirst.com, they'll see that every beneficiary of campaigns has a little shield next to them, and that shows what department they're from, whether it be law enforcement, military, EMS, and so on. And it has that shield to prove that they are verified. And then it also says verified by Fund the First, verified by ID Me in each campaign. So we have a lot of technology behind this, a lot of things that are going on to really ensure for a trusted space. So anyone could come on and donate. It's really simple to donate. You could donate as a guest. You could create a user profile and be part of the family, the growing family. I mean, right now we've had over 32,000 donors on the platform since our 8-month launch. And we now, of those 32,000, we have 3,700 people that have registered as users. So there's a lot of people growing, and we have a first responder map. It's called the National Hero Map. And if you've registered as a user on the platform, and it asks you for your zip code. So when you go to the map, it will show where your shield is across the country. There's only one state that we do not have a user in the entire U.S. Can you guess that state?
Which state?
Nebraska.
Arizona?
No, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
For some,
like 5 people in Nebraska though.
What's that? There's only 5 people.
Disrespect to the other 4.
Yeah. So obviously we're flooded with California, New York, and Florida, and I think we have a nice user
area. So you will get.
I think we have a nice user base in Arizona as well, and Texas. But listen, it's just incredible to be able to give back to people in this way, to provide.
Well, nowadays, giving back it's good if you're giving back, and that give back is you can see the benefits from it.
Right.
I mean, I remember there was a case where a lady was killed or something, and someone created a complete wait a minute, I'm trying to make sure I got it right. There was a GoFundMe for someone. Oh, I remember what it was now. The guy was homeless. They created a GoFundMe for the homeless guy.
$400,000.
$400,000. They spent the money. They went on a shopping spree. The guy that got almost little or nothing. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And that happens a lot. And here, the other day, I'm not going to say where it happened or who it happened to, but a cop was shot in the head, and he's basically on life support right now. And this happened 4 days ago. Really unfortunate. I have a connection to that department, and it's far from me. It's further down south, but I have a connection to the department. He called me up. He said, listen, I'm going to put you in touch with the family, and I would love for them to do a campaign on your platform. And I said, great, let's do it right away. I spoke to someone from the family, and they said, yeah, we're interested in this. We'll look into it. So I never force anybody. I said, listen, we're here as an option. I'm here to support you. I'm getting chills talking about it right now. If you ever want to talk, I'm here as well, because that support comes a long way with that too, So I said, listen, why don't you, give me a call when you're ready, and I'll help you set it up so you don't have to do it yourself. 1 day goes by. After that, someone started an account on another platform. I'm not going to say which platform. It said, with the permission of the family.
Oh.
It's raised $200,000 already, because the department shared out that campaign as well.
Oh.
So the department didn't even take the chance to verify if it was real. So now what's going to happen is the department is going to have to step in and take over that account to make sure that those funds do get to the family.
Yeah,
because because the family never actually verified that. But now, you know what happened this morning? I get a phone call. We want to start a Fund the First for this officer. And I said, well, did you know about XYZ? No. And I said, well, that's really unfortunate. I said, listen, this is what's going on. Let's discuss it. If you really want to do it, I think that's fine. But I think you guys need to be cautious about it.
Yeah, it's important to be cautious first. So you have a podcast.
I do. It's called the Heroes First Podcast. So what I like to do is, I think, are you going to be getting on one? I forget if you signed up for one.
I may have. I cannot confirm.
So Heroes First Podcast. I like to get first responders, military, medical professionals on my show. I like to get people that have campaigns on the platform on my show. Other people that are doing great things for the community on the show. But I ask a couple of questions on the show. I ask specifically, we go over your career and everything, just talking points, nothing wild. But, I'll say, if you were to do it all again in your life, would you? And that's, it's a strong question. What does a hero mean to you? And then the other question, because it's Heroes First podcast, I say, if you were to have a superpower, what would it be? And you'd be surprised at what some of these people say. Some of these people say, like I believe one woman said inspiration as a superpower. Pretty wild. Another guy said I'd be the Hulk because I always get mad at my wife. So I was like, okay.
If I had a power, I would be the ability for invisibility in that way. And there's a reason why, because when I do the segments called Misbehaving, somehow or another I'm invisible to people because they're committing crimes right in front of me, or they're breaking the law right in front of me, and they don't even notice that I'm standing with a camera.
Right.
I'm literally in front of a guy 10 feet in front of him, and he had no idea I was there. The whole time. He never knew. And I made a joke. How could you not notice a 280-pound black guy with a camera staring at you? And a person, oh, you're just trying to throw race into it. I'm like, no, it's just, come on, really? If I go to the grocery store, they're all over me. I was standing here with a camera, and no one noticed me with a camera. And they go, and or the other way is that it's like a blue light or a bug light. I can bring a camera out, and they'll just run from a mile away and say, get that camera in my face. I'm like, you realize that the only way you can be on camera is if me point the lens at you.
Right.
You can't run up behind me and go, get the camera in my face when the camera's not in your face. And I did a piece where there was a guy on a motorcycle. Bro, I kid you not. You look it up. He was on a motorcycle, Golden Gate Bridge, full helmet, couldn't see his face. He went down the wrong way. I was recording him go down the wrong way. Dude parked his bike 50 yards away, half a football field, took his helmet off, ran across 2 lanes of traffic, stood in front of me, and told me to get the camera out of his face. You cannot make this stuff up. All right, so before we go, website.
Website is at fundthefirst.com. So www.fundthefirst.com. That's where you could become a member of our platform, or you could do a fundraising campaign for one of our nation's heroes. We also have a nonprofit organization, which is fallenfirstreserve.org. And what our nonprofit organization does, it provides for our line of duty death families. And unfortunately, it happens 300 to 400 times a year.
Now, usually I search out for guests, but you actually reached out to me, which is
I did. Yeah, you know what? I jumped in your channel on Clubhouse, and I loved what you were talking about. I thought that we would have a nice conversation. I said, you know what? I'm going to ask him to come on a show if I come on a show.
Yeah, you got to get me on your show, and maybe I'll figure out a way to set up something where I can help fund my business that I'm trying to do, so I can do more stuff with law enforcement. Because this is a very expensive undertaking, and normally I'm out in the street. COVID-19 had me indoors, sitting here talking. That's why this came about. We're going to keep doing this, but in the future, I already got shoots lined up. We're going to start to go back out and hit the field again, and hotels, rental cars, security.
That's expensive. Yeah, it gets expensive. That's I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something else that people could do on our platform. It's called a business venture campaign, and they could raise money, donation-based incentive, and raise money for different tiers. So, Stanley, if you were to do this, because you are an honorary police officer, right? So
I'm honorary chief.
An honorary chief. There we go. So if you were to do this on our platform, you'd have to basically give people like a tier back, so you'd set tiers and limits. So if they donate to your campaign $100 to help support your business growing, you would give them back, a hat or something, whatever it is, which is pretty cool. It's a neat way of doing it. It's basically Kickstarter's model, and that's what we've built into the platform. We built that in.
Give them back half or give them back a hat?
A hat, not half.
Oh.
A hat. Yeah.
Wait, I can give your money back. I need it.
Yeah. No.
So luckily, we have some of these. Let me just reach over here into my special thing. So we got Mr. Badly magnets.
Oh, love them. I need one of those.
Yeah, they're really cool. They go great on refrigerators. This is Mr. Badly Productions, and they stick on anything except for me. And then I have the hat. But these actually are. There's not very many of these in the world, so I would have to
collector's item.
But if you're going to be a heavy duty hitter and donate to this, and you definitely get a hat. And I'll even put your name on the back.
Love it. That's awesome.
You could be like me to the boss. The other side.
The boss. Oh, there we go. I see it.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the boss.
That's awesome.
So anyway, you just saw I have all this gray hair. That's because I'm too much stress.
Listen, I'm going too. My beard is. That's why I trim it down. My beard's going. Not like yours yet. Not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna let this go on this one joke. But one day I'm walking in the street, and this little girl was walking with a group. They were a bunch of. This is in Oakland, and I had the full white beard going, and I mean I wasn't dressed any other way other than I was working. And she looks at me and she goes, "Santa."
That's awesome. That's great.
I'm
That's
done.
awesome. That's
I'm like,
awesome.
and that's the reason why aliens will never invade the Earth. They think I'm Santa. So don't get the white beard, bro. You that I tried that. What's that thing called?
Just for men. Just for men.
It wasn't just for men. It was just for men who want to look like they got some weird black stuff on their face.
Oh, I made it too dark. I used to have really thick, and I made it like jet black. Like remember when Hulk Hogan did it that way? The jet black. That's what I did, and it did not look good.
Well, imagine you wake up one morning, and I literally, dude, I said this was after me shaving yesterday.
It grows that fast?
It grows that fast.
Stop.
Nope. She says, why do you even shave? What's the purpose? If it's gonna grow back tonight. I literally it's like what's that thing? Groundhog Day. I shave. In the morning, it's like, nope.
You gotta let this grow. I gotta see what it looks like full.
Oh, I literally can shave it, and the next day it's back again. So
wow.
She says it's too much. Even Diane's like, it's too much. She's just like, did you just shave last night? I go, yeah. 3 days is like this.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's like
on my face. Anyway, one more time, give me the name of the podcast, and then give me the website address, because this is for audio wise, for social media, for podcasts, and you can't type it into a podcast. So go ahead.
Yeah. So social media, you can follow us at Fund the First across every single social media platform there is. If you want to hear our podcast, it's called the Heroes First Podcast, which is on Spotify, Google Podcasts, everything. It's all out there. It's on YouTube as well at our Fund the First YouTube account. And then our website is fundthefirst.com. And then our nonprofit organization, if you scroll down on the homepage, you'll actually find the podcast on there as well. But our nonprofit is there as well at the fallenfirstreserve.org.
So, Robert, this is turned to be a very interesting conversation. I know I made you uncomfortable with some of those questions. I can see in your face. You're going, I don't know why. But that's what I do. I ask questions. I want, your honest response. I appreciate it. We thank you, and all the people that are watching, thank you for taking time. I know it's late there in New York now, and pretty soon your job's going to change with the legalization of marijuana. So then pretty soon they'll be legalizing cocaine. Just one line, and then next they legalize a shot of heroin, just enough to get by with. It's just a matter of time before we just say everything's legal.
Everything,
everything's legal.
And then the aliens invade.
And the aliens invade. And they go, nope.
That's it. We're done.
And we'll talk to you again in the future. Thank you.
Stanley, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching again. I know, there's been a lot going on in the past. My sister passing. And now you just heard that my niece also has COVID-19. So we're saying prayers for her. But we want to thank everybody who joined in today. And of course, we will be on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, plus a few more other ones. And we still want you to log in and, tell people about the reason why aliens would ever invade Earth. Because we believe that somewhere out in space, there's a huge billboard telling people to stay away. And we don't believe that that's the case. We believe this is a great planet and we love it. But we want to thank you again for tuning in, and have a